Dijeron igualdad, pero esta vez me separaron. Dijeron mucho, pero no se olvidaron de callarse. Cuánto odio por mi piel sembraron. Dijeron historia y la tergiversaron. Dijeron guerra, muerte, odio y nos culparon. Enfermedades, epidemias nos contagiaron. Exterminación de mi fauna complace a tus mercados. Dijeron riqueza y todo se lo robaron. Oro, platino, diamante, a la fuerza se lo llevaron. Y la actualidad es tan triste que todo aquello que dijeron es lo mismo que hoy se dice más. ¿Quién dice, quién explota, quién se beneficia? El asesino, el mismo que da las noticias. Hay una cuenta fácil que siempre me da las grandes riquezas, de dónde vienen y hacia dónde van.
Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao. Nati Dre es afroresistencia, cultura ancestral, afrodescendencia, solidaridad. Esa es la esencia, la diáspora africana eleva la conciencia, conciencia negra, universal, progresista y transcultural. Negros y mestizos revolucionando, pueblos caribeños y africanos en un solo bando. No más explotación, colonialismo interno, no más confusión, supremacía blanca en el Babilón. Soy rojo, negro y verde, afroliberación. Mientras más negro, más represión. Somos creadores, recupera tu visión. Mi misión es educar con amor, contra el silencio, vivo sin temor. Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao.
What's up, good people? It is the Rise Up morning show. It's the international morning show. This is where we get down for the crown. Salute to all the good folks. I know y'all like, man, it's like after 10 EST. You know what I mean? We supposed to be 8 to 10. We gonna blame it on Isaac. I think he got his clock wrong this morning. You know what I mean?
I thought we were blaming it on Ikemba. I thought that was a collective,
hey,
a collective understanding.
Hey man, you know how it is with me, man. You know, I get confused sometimes. You know what I'm saying? It's the eyes I see. You know what I mean? But definitely I think it's Ikemba's fault. He still ain't on the set yet. We've been waiting for him. Somebody's stuck in traffic. He in the same space he's been in all night. Somebody's stuck in traffic. I'm stuck in traffic. He don't know we got cameras. We can see him in the crib. It's all good though. That's how I do. But anyway, shout out to him. I think is Ikemba down in Florida at the trial? No. Okay.
No.
Anyway, shout out to our brother Ikemba. He'll be coming on shortly. This is, like I said, the Rise Up morning show. We are happy to be here. Again, we had some technical difficulties. We supposed to be on at 8 a.m. But it's all good. We here. We're happy to be here. I am Kalanji Chang alongside who I got with me today. Natasha's in the building. Natasha only got one name. She don't even want to. Natasha, no doubt. How you feeling, Natasha? Everything good?
I'm feeling good. We had Curb Fest this weekend up in here in New York. So, you know, it went
We're going to talk about it. See, she the official Curb Fest commercial maker. As soon as she hop on, she didn't want to say her name. What's your name? Curb Fest. Anyway.
But
we're going to definitely talk about that. No doubt, no doubt. Who's the other brother with the glasses on looking like he froze, but he might not be?
Isaac Jasper, as everybody may know. Love being in this position with you guys. I just have to say that live on air. It's not just a blessing, but it's also something that I've grown to really admire and appreciate, respect from a collective understanding. And so I just had to say that. That's all I'll say. So
no doubt. We definitely appreciate you as well, brother, coming on today. Appreciate both of you. It's been a heavy weekend. Before we get started, I want to be selfish. I want to say shout out to my daughter, Africa, who celebrated her birthday yesterday. She turned 22. And I want to say shout out to my grandson. Yes, my grandson, Malachi. My grandson Malachi turned 17 years old. And I was telling, the comrades, when I talked to my grandson, I told him, I said, man, when I was 17, your grandmother was pregnant with your mother. And I was facing 36 years. So at age 17, I was facing 36 years. And 36 years later, I have a 17-year-old grandson. So that 17 and 36 was a serious number yesterday. So I say I'm grateful to be here. And I'm grateful to see 2 generations under me and to see that I have a young man child. You know what I'm saying? 17, it also reminds me of Jonathan Jackson that year. So that's where I'm happy that my grand is he's on the right path. So shout out to him. But anyway, I'm sorry. Curb Fest was going on.
Don't apologize. Don't
apologize.
Man.
That's great. Yeah, we love life and the continuation of families, because there's a saying like family is the first organization or something like that. I forget who said it, but like when we're thinking about organizing, I think it's also important that we don't forget that it's really important to organize your family and build your family and have your family and nurture that.
True indeed. True indeed. Yes. I think it was Isaac that said that. So, it's all good. But
no, I just want to add, in the midst of everything that's going on in the world, for you to even have the ability, to say that you get to see your grandchild see 17 years old as a Black man. Let's just let that resonate for everybody in the chat. That's a blessing. And you gotta take that the way that you should, with every ounce of respect, and admiration. And so, I want to say happy birthday, to the young brother. And I want to say congratulations to you. And this is a part of Black Power. Okay. Is being able to recognize the youth, being able to recognize our elders, our OGs, people who have been here and working, to, ramify that for change, that helps us get liberated. And so, people out here, want to discredit, certain aspects of life. And I'm not gonna allow that. So we're gonna admire when people come to these crossroads of understandings. It's like, damn, 36 years ago, I'm 27, and I can say, 27 years ago, my dad was a different person, completely different person. I wouldn't be here if he didn't make a decision that then made my life what it was. My life hasn't been peaches and cream, silver spoon in my mouth type of shit, nothing like that. But I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be able to see my dad, get up, every day, and have to struggle. There's just a lot. So a lot of people come on here and they try and refrain from talking about, personal experiences. And I think we should definitely be open to talking about that to a certain extent. I know that we should have privacy, but when you have moments like that where you could be able to realize, I think is beautiful. So I rambled on a little too much.
No, I appreciate your ramble, because to your point, you're looking at, for folks, for the viewers, you're looking at a person who didn't think that he would see 18. So when I turned 18, I was locked up, but I was happy. I remember the day, and folks were like, "You act like you getting out." I'm good, because I didn't think that I would be there. So again, 36 years later, seeing a 17-year-old grandson, and I want to shout his parents out, his mother and his pops, you know what I mean? Because they're role models. You know what I'm saying? His mother, my daughter, my oldest child, we ain't always see eye to eye. However, her eyes are sharp. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm definitely proud of her, and I'm hoping that they're checking this out. But definitely, you know, to see that it is. This is why I don't have time to fuck around. Let me say it just like that. You know, you get people want to play games and all that type stuff. Listen, man, I have a grandchild that's almost grown. You know what I'm saying? And you can explain to my offspring what the hell you got to say to me. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the thing that people forget, that, you know, there's a story behind each and every one of us. You know, you see what you see now. You see the package now. One of the I think it was Ghostface from Wu-Tang. He said in one of the songs, "Only been a good nigga for a minute though." You know what I'm saying? Don't get it twisted. You know what I mean? Don't make me, you know, some folks, you know, you don't want to see the relapse. You don't want to see, you know, we can get ugly if we need to, but where this thing is about our people's liberation movement. And if we're serious about that, then with that comes growth. You know what I mean? So definitely, I appreciate you all on the Rise Up morning show for coming through in the clutch. Ikemba finally made it out of traffic. How you doing, Ikemba, sir? You looking up, you on mute, acting like he's talking to somebody else. We don't know what he's doing. You know, maybe he's not.
Hey, peace to the family. Thanks for having me, man. I'm glad I was able to join you guys, man. I appreciate it. I love you guys, man.
Hey, talking like he a guest. We love you too, man. Go ahead. Well, thank you for having me. What you talking about? You're on the roster. Thanks for having me. Like what would you like to ask me?
We love having you too. We love having you.
That's the response I was looking for.
That's the response. Yeah. I noticed Natasha down with everybody but me. I see how this thing go.
I'm down with everybody, you know.
Oh, here we go. There
we go.
She sound like Cornell. My brother.
Speaking of Cornell will be on my network September 12th for a conversation. He's actually going to be a little bit more open. I specifically asked for this sit down because I've seen a lot of subliminals, and I've asked Jill Steins. I'm not asking the Claudias. You know, Dr. Cornel West has been the one that's been like, if I ask, if he's available, he'll let me know. If he's not, he won't. And so yesterday I locked this conversation in because there's been a lot of speculation on, you know, why he's not allocating his votes to, say, a Jill Stein or a Claudia de la Cruz if he loses in because if you look at, everybody has a specific interest. Jill Stein is to preserve the Green Party's ballot. That's why she's running right now. So they need 5% of the votes in order to secure ballot access for 2028 and 2026. Okay. Cornel West is trying to get on the ballot, and so he needs 5% of that same 5%. Claudia needs that same 5%. So, you know, getting down and sitting down with him to get what are you going to do when you then get that said 5% and public funding comes in, which is more than $13 million. What are you going to do? And so just having a conversation with him in regards to that, certain allegations, certain, you know, sneak disses by a certain campaign, leaders, you know, there's a lot we're going to be getting into. So hopefully you guys could tune in to that. That'll be on September 12th at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so Dr. West will be live in effect, and hopefully we don't get what we got last time, but a deep-rooted conversation me and him had where I got a little disrespectful, I would say, but I don't think we'll get there. He wants to really tell his piece, speak his piece. So
we might have to have Ikemba in the background of your show, just in case.
He was on my show yesterday.
I was, man. You know, and it was a great show.
That's why he late today.
He wasn't on time. His audio sucked. No, I'm just I'm just messing with you, Ikemba.
I mean,
we had a good conversation.
But that's the Ikemba we know and love. You know what I'm saying?
Come on. Hey, for the people out there, don't go for it, man.
Don't go for
it. Don't go for it. Believe everything they say. Believe the opposite. That's why they saying it. That's why they saying it.
And we was talking so good about you before you came on, brother.
I'm sure y'all was.
Yeah, brother.
Like he said, the opposite.
What kind of man would I be if I didn't talk good about you, brother? Anyway.
But no, Isaac, though, man, you have to respect this new generation. Y'all don't respect y'all elders, man. So, growing up, that's what's wrong with this generation.
What's wrong with Akimba?
I mean, listen, I might have to agree with Akimba. I do think that there's this lapse here. I'm not talking about Isaac, and I haven't seen it. But I'm just saying that, like, I have
believe the opposite. Go ahead.
Believe the opposite.
I have had to tell, like, other people, not that they're like too much out of the generation, but I mean, I guess, yeah, because I mean, even like my younger siblings and stuff too, sometimes I would have to be like, you don't talk to elders in that way. You can talk to them,
right?
You can still get your point across, but there's a way that you talk to elders. Okay. And I don't know if it's because, I grew up in a my mom was raised her whole life in Haiti, and so I basically grew up in like a Haitian household where my mom was whatever. But I mean, I've also had like Black friends from here, and their parents were similar too. So I do think like, yeah, there's a like disconnect. A shift. Yeah, there's a disconnect. Yeah,
these kids are too liberal these days, man.
I think the kids they're following European ways, and I think that the thing is, for me. And I'm definitely not trying to sound like one of them. These kids today ain't gonna be like a Kimber old ass. But to your point, I see a lot of folks questioning like OGs and triple OGs, and I've had to check certain people, man. And it's like, there was a situation where a brother, an elder, a movement veteran, I was on the phone with him. And some young cats came knocking on his door talking crazy because they said he almost hit them when he was coming down the thing. So they was talking real nuts. So he's like, man, he said, hold on, man. He said, let me go get this AR. So he's about to go, he's going to light their ass up. So I talked him into staying through. And, there's a group of them. So I said, yo, I'll get some of my young guns and we'll come through. You know what I'm saying? Just to talk to him. So we roll up and I got two of my younger brothers who at the time they're probably like 10 years younger than me or whatever, right? So I bring them with me and we roll up to where these guys are, and they all they looking all in the car. They like came walking up to the truck that we're in, like, yo, who y'all, like whatever, some young cats. So I'm just like, so we get out the car, we park and everything, and I said, man, let me speak to y'all, whatever. And I'm trying to talk to them and whatnot, and they talking reckless. They talking mad reckless. So my guys that's with me, they don't play no shit like that. One of my brothers, young Puerto Rican brother, he rolled up on, he tells one of them, he said, first of all, take your hat off when you're speaking to this man. Dude's like, what? He said, take your hat off and I won't tell you again. He said, if I have to take it off, I'm gonna take your whole head off. So dude taking his hat off because he telling him, like, he's like, he talking to me, we're in front of this guy's house right now. And this man that you don't know telling you to take your hat off outside when you talking to me. So dude's confused because he see like my man ain't playing. So, one of them was still trying to get slick. And, I'm trying to have, trying to be lenient and everything. I'm trying to be understanding because, we was young, so on and so forth. But they really talking real reckless and whatnot. So one of them said something. And I was like, listen, man, I'm trying to be nice to you. He said, you trying to be nice to us? I said, listen, man, under normal circumstances, if you was my age or better, I'll rip your leg off and beat your man ass with it. You understand what I'm saying? So you're totally confused, and I don't understand who you think you're dealing with, whatever, but blase blah. Long story short, dude said, oh, you'll do that to a kid. So now you want
now you want to play the kid part.
Right.
Exactly what I said. Now you want to pull the kid card. A few minutes ago, you was scarhead. Now you see cats ain't playing is different. So I mean, dude, literally, this dude started crying. I ended up hugging the cat up cuffing them up, because I'm like, man, like, man, why y'all this elder's like 70 years old, man, like, really, if his kids was here, they drag you up and down the street. I'm like, man, you can't talk to folks. I'm giving them a history of the elder, whatever, so on and so forth. So they're listening, everything cool. We get in the truck, we pulling off, we look in the rear view mirror, they sticking their middle fingers up. They doing all kinds of crazy shit. And I'm like, it's like, wow. So my man pauses on the brakes, they take off. And these are like teenagers. I'm talking about 15, 16 years old, whatever the case is. Now we already know, like, don't get it twisted. A lot of these young cats be, they be strapped, they be holding heat, so on and so forth. We wasn't worried about that because we're up on you. So if you pull something out, you're gonna fold your clothes with your ass still in it. You know what I'm saying? But it's just a matter of principle, just speaking about how there's a lack of respect for elders. And that's so foreign to me. For me, to this day, I still know what my mother's fingers taste like from getting slapped in the mouth. We couldn't even, like, if grown folks is talking, what they say, shut your mouth, and you better not act like you gonna insert something to somebody not talking to you. I mean, there was times when I made a face that I looked like I was gonna say something, got slapped in the mouth.
Don't make a face. You can't make a face.
Yeah.
Don't move your eyes, like
you better be looking happy even if you sad, if you mad.
That's it.
Hey,
and I will say that, like,
child abuse unless the police do it. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Get it together.
Exactly. And I will say that obviously it's not all young people. You know, there are a good amount too of young people that do respect the elders, and do still do that. But I do think that there is a rise in the people who are not respecting elders, and what's happening with that.
Listen, my grandson I told you about, he meet y'all is yes sir, yes ma'am. You mean I thought Isaac was was Dr. Ben, he'll get respect. You know what I'm saying? Just on the strength, because that's how his mother raised him. But go ahead, I'm sorry, Isaac, cut you up.
No. I was gonna say, when people think about, because I do know we do have to go to break in a minute, so I'll keep it short. There's a book called Spare the Kids, and I'm for the life of me, I can't remember the first name of the author, but I remember the last name, which is Patton, and it talks about how Stacey Patton. There you go. Right. And it's called Spare the Kids, and it basically goes over how white hegemonic constructs of even disciplining your kids have been implemented into society today. So, like, whipping your kid, beating your kid, stuff like that. That was never an aesthetic of African culture. And so, I just had to highlight that, because as much as we all lived through those realities, I got my ass whooped. Believe it or not, my great grandmother, because I lived in her house most of my life, all the way up until I was 16 years old. She used to tell me stories about my grandmother, who's in the next room, about how she used to whoop her ass with a switch. How she used to get whipped with the switch. Stuff like that. And these are real life experiences, but that also we have to dissect and understand that it really wasn't a part of African culture to whip the shit out of your children the way that we have all either experienced or known to understand. And so
I appreciate. I was gonna say I definitely appreciate that train of thought, and I have my own systems, and I agree, like, what I'm saying, okay, boom, you are a dominant force to this child or whatever, so on and so forth. However, I do believe in making sure they're in check. Now, I don't mean like, you ain't got to whoop them or nothing like that, but if you're doing something to endanger, yourself or others or whatever, you can get your warnings or whatever, but you mess around and you buck up the wrong way, then you're going to get dealt with, so like for me, having adult children, there's been a time or two where, one of my sons might have, because as young men, you feel yourself sometime, and that testosterone, and you think that, this cat getting old and I'm faster now and all this type stuff, until you get the wind knocked out of you. Because see, there's nothing like a And I think part of the problem, I'm gonna say this before we go to break. Part of the problem we're experiencing, even with adults our age, I always say you can always tell someone that has never got their ass whooped. And I'm not talking about by an adult as a child. I'm talking about as adults, period, because there's some people that move so reckless. They say just anything, they talk just anyway, so on and so forth. Now, some people are like, well, I ain't never got no ass whooping. If you never got your ass whooped, you ain't had enough fights. You understand what I'm saying? That's just a fact, because as a fighter, even in some type of training or whatever, you got to take a L. You understand what I'm saying?
I lost 50 fights before I won my first jiu-jitsu medal.
Damn, you would never be my security. Anyway, 0-50, like, god damn.
I was like, oh, that's a lot.
You might need a new fighting system. Look at that. Lost 50 before. We're gonna go to break quick. Black Power. We're gonna take this Black Power break, but we send Isaac over there to whoop your ass. Anyway.
Or you will.
Black Power, because we think that is the fundamental issue of these times that we live in, but in fact it's been the fundamental issue for African people for a very long time now. First of all, what I would like to do is just briefly say some things about the African People's Socialist Party, which is the organization that I chair. We are a revolutionary organization. And by that, I want to say that we are convinced that this country, this system, do not have the ability to do justice by African people. That if we are to ever know justice, freedom, and democracy, we are going to have a revolution. It's that simple. And I know that that's a difficult issue for a lot of folk. And the fact that it is obviously a difficult issue for a lot of folk is reflected in the number of people who are in this room right now. But it is nevertheless the truth. And it's important to talk about that because we can continue to have discussions that make us feel good, but won't take us anywhere. We can continue to have discussions where people come before us and make rhymes like up with hope and down with dope, and perhaps we'll feel better, but they don't take us any place. And what we have to do is come up with some kind of analysis of the reality that we are confronted with as a people, and then be able to use that analysis to change our circumstances so that they are not the kind of circumstances we find ourselves confronted with today, but what we want for ourselves and for our children in the future. So we are a revolutionary organization. We believe that if one wants to know what it will take for us to become free, all we have to do is look at history and see what it took for us to become enslaved. And if we find any place in our history that we voted ourselves into slavery, then I say let's go and get together and vote ourselves the hell out of slavery. And if we can find any place in history where we sang our way into it, then let's sing our way out of it. But the reality, that is not the case, sisters and brothers. The reality is that we are going to have to cut, shoot, and bomb our way out of the circumstances that we find ourselves confronted with. And I know that's not something that everybody wants to hear, and it's not something that a lot of folk want to hear. But it's the truth nevertheless. This is not a suggestion at this meeting that once you're on your way out, we're going to be handing out AK-47s for people to go out and do your thing. Reality is I'd be extremely afraid to pass out AK-47s in the community because I'd be afraid that I'd probably become one of the first victims of the AK-47. In other words, there's a lot of work that we have to do in the interim. But having said that there's a lot of work we have to do, we have to also remember that our objective is total, absolute liberation for our people. And you can't have it any other way. There's no way that you can talk about sharing the power over your lives with somebody else and then feeling like you got a right to complain about what somebody does to you. Either you want the power or you don't. And some people are afraid of the power, and some people are not afraid of the power. In fact, actually understand and believe that we need the power, but just don't believe we're going to ever be able to get the power. And so what they will do is find themselves compromising forever with a system that has never been able to bring anything but genocide and oppression to African people, as opposed to struggling to find some way to end our relationship with this North American hell that we've been confronted with for something like 500 years today. So we're a revolutionary organization. We're a revolutionary organization that was founded in 1972 at the back of the attack on and defeat of the Black Revolution of the 60s. The Black Revolution of the 60s was one of the most consequential things that has ever occurred in this country, and it's something that we have to struggle to understand. All of us need to struggle to understand. And we need to understand it because subsequent to the defeat of the Black Revolution of the 60s, there's been a lot of historical revisionism that's been occurring in this country. And what we find is today people tell us that the 60s was not about revolution, but it was about the flower children in Haiti, Ashbury, and San Francisco making love and not war. They tell us it was about hippies. Or if they want to, if they find themselves talking about African people in this country, what they suggest is that perhaps it has something to do with a generational thing. That a few young people were caught up by these mysterious times and got involved, and they even sometimes suggested maybe somebody put something in the water and all of us went a little crazy. But the reality is that the 60s was a period that was characterized by the Chinese as an era within which there was great disorder under the heavens. And the reality is that revolution was the main trend in the entire world in the 60s, not just in Philadelphia. But everywhere in the world, oppressed people had risen up and were fighting for their freedom. And they were fighting all over Latin America. In fact, the 60s were opened with the great revolution in Cuba in 1959 that overthrew a U.S. puppet government under Batista, where the U.S. held Cuba as a whorehouse for white people and a gambling den for wealthy white people and gangsters and what have you. It was Cuba that opened up the 60s. It was, we saw the 60s.
What's going on?
Yes. That was Chairman Omali Yeshitela. For folks who are not familiar, there's currently a trial going on in Tampa, Florida. The trial that is pretty much dealing with federal indictments of the Huru 3. They're being denied their fundamental rights, fundamental human rights to speech. On trial right now, you have Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who is the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party. You have Penny Hest, which is the chair of the African People's Solidarity Committee, and Jesse Neville, who is the chair of the Huru Solidarity Movement. Together, they're known as the Huru 3. It's what we would call the case of the sisters. Excuse me, one of the trials of the century. And there are a number of different comrades who are out there now. The Huru 3 were indicted by the U.S. government in April of 2023 on charges of being "quote unquote" agents of foreign government. And these are charges that were similar to the indictment of W.E.B. Du Bois. Of course, Du Bois was 81 at the time of his indictment, which they called him a supposed agent of the Soviet Union for his anti-nuclear and pro-peace advocacy. Omali is, I believe, 81 years old. And I wanted to say 83, but I'm saying, but somewhere he's within his 80s.
About 81, 82.
Yeah, 81, 82 years old. He's been a freedom fighter for over 60 years. And I know that what's happening is, if they're found guilty, then he's facing and they're facing up to 15 years Fed time. With that being the case, if he is charged, if he is found guilty, if they're found guilty, him being 81 years old, getting 15 years in prison, he'll be 96 years old when he gets out. Remembering we've repeated this on several occasions, in 2 days, Leonard Peltier will be celebrating his 80th birthday. And he's been locked up close to 50 years. And of course, as I mentioned, we were just down there for his parole hearing a few months ago, back in June. And they told him to come back in 15 years. So again, if, and we hope these brothers do make it, but if Leonard Peltier gets that 15 year, if he's around to do, to go to this parole hearing, he'll be 94 years old. So this is how the U.S. government gets down. So remind folks that, Chairman Omali Yeshitela and his comrades, keep them in your thoughts and prayers. If you are in the Tampa area, or if you have, if you're able to get down there, be sure to get down there and support these comrades. You don't have to be a part of their organization. You don't have to have the same belief system, but just know that this is an individual who has been fighting for the rights of African and colonized people for 6 decades. You know what I mean? And for folks who are hip hop fans, if you listen to the first Let's Get Free album, he opens up the Dead Prez album. He's on a couple of the different tracks of that particular album. But I guess his most popular piece was him talking about the hunter and the wolf. You know what I mean? So folks aren't familiar with him, go back and check that out. But definitely look up Omali Yeshitela, and we at Black Power Media, we support that brother. We know that our brother Kimba is a member of that particular organization. So I don't know if you want to add a few words before we...
Yeah, we was just talking about that, right, Isaac?
Yeah.
On his show. But there's going to be a rally if you're in New York and the area today at noon. A rally at Hakeem Jeffries' office in Brooklyn. So I just wanted to a rally, uplifting what's going on in Florida, in Tampa, Florida, with the Hoodoo 3.
Is Hakeem putting it together, or are they protesting Hakeem?
Oh no. Nah, protesting.
Okay.
Nah.
What did I miss? Go ahead.
Yeah. I appreciate that intervention. But D12, let me be clear. D12 is leading up the rally. The members of NPDM and other organizations, NPDM, International People's Democratic Hoodoo Movement, and other organizations will be on the scene. Will be present at that rally. I'll be present at that rally after we finish up here. But yeah. And that particular speech that you're talking about too, as I mentioned, Isaac's show is Black Power. The Black Power speech, which can be located on YouTube, the entire speech. And the excerpt from the Wolves is from that speech, which was given in Philadelphia. Big up Philadelphia, my folks out there. But yeah, check that out. Black Power.
Okay. That's what's up. We appreciate that input. We had folks who are unaware, we had Chairman Omali Yeshitela on the platform a few weeks back. So I suggest you all go back and check out, our interview with that brother. We actually have a guest that'll be coming on, and the rest of my co-hosts don't know it yet, so they'll be checking the chat. Like, when did this happen? But in the meantime, I want to remind us that in the mortal words of Mobb Deep, there's a war going on outside. Nobody's safe. You know what I'm saying? And we have to understand that you have to join an organization, but not just any organization. You have to join an organization that's serious about the liberation of our people. We talk about folks like Omali, but also when we talk about I don't know what's wrong with it, Kimber. When we talk about the internet and social media and all that, according to the feds, they went back to 2015, scouring through the social media and emails of Omali Yeshitela and others, to quote unquote build this case. He talked about when he was on his platform, he talked about how the FBI raided his house and, just a number of other things, man. And, at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, I believe. And, we have to be mindful of what's going on out in this world when we talk about movement. And we also talk about the everyday BS that's happening out here, because folks get caught up in YouTube and they get caught up in the lights of YouTube. And YouTube is like, for some people, it's like a deer in the headlight. It's like, they're amazed. They see the lights, they see the fake glam and all of that. And we have to constantly remind folks that we're not YouTubers, we're organizers that having to use YouTube as a tool, like we should. But anyway, we can get to I know that our dear sister Natasha has some news to hit us with, so we can get started on that while we await our guests.
Okay, so I'm gonna share my story. So we're talking about what's happening currently, still happening in Haiti, but in particular, the troops that are being sent over to Haiti, as it's rightly called, and I don't know. I find it strange that they're sending all of these Black people to Haiti, and that's pretty much what this story is talking about. So let me share my screen for a quick second.
I mean, it's a strategy they've been using for forever. So, I mean, yeah, send blackface.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly.
And we put our spears down. We put our arms down.
Yeah. So it says Belize Army sends officers for long delayed Haiti mission to Jamaica. And so basically they're saying that the Belize Defense Force is deploying 2 senior officers to Jamaica ahead of an assignment to Haiti. It said on Sunday as part of its commitment to support the long delayed security mission to quote unquote help Haitian police fight powerful gangs. Now I don't know how many people have been following or knowing about these gangs that exist in Haiti that they're talking about, but how these gangs, a lot of them are being funded and backed by, people who are outside of Haiti and, oligarchs and things like that, that are really, and these gangs are really being funded, and they're not like, natural outgrowths and things like that. But I won't get too far into it, but and it also talks about how, like, Belize had pledged, a 50 military personnel to go, and along with the Kenyan mission. So we know that the Kenyans are already there, and so, but they also have, this article talks about how the Bahamas, Jamaica, all have pledged to send troops over into IET, and as well as Benin pledged like 1,500 as well, and which is also really interesting considering the connection between Benin and IET, and that's the other thing about it too. But we also know the geopolitics of what's going on in Africa, and those who who understand and are clear about what it means to be African and what it means to be supporting our people and to be fighting for our people versus just going along to get along and doing what the Western countries want you to do, and at the expense of your own people, and even not even at the expense of your own people within your country, but at the expense of your people of the diaspora and and other places as well. And so basically they're going to the Belize those Belize forces, as well as they're going to be collaborating with the Jamaican Defense Forces as part of this effort that they say to quote unquote, support Haiti's restoration. But all of these names, Benin, Jamaica, Bahamas, Belize, all of these, like we were talking about before, sending all of these troops to go and be the face of really what is an intervention into IET by the West is just making it, I think, in my opinion, when I was reading this, I was just like, so, okay, you want to send Black people to do your dirty work and to pretend like, oh, okay, you're not involved, but really you are. It's just that you're putting a Black face on it. And that politically as well as economically, because this world is tied up within this capitalist economic system that is backed and supported and created by, colonialist Europeans, that these countries were already put into a place too for them to feel like, okay, economically, I'm going to do this because economically it may benefit me.
No
because
doubt.
Because they've already and continue to undermine the economic prosperity of these other countries.
No doubt, no doubt. I want to welcome to the platform our sister Khadija Haynes. I know some folks are looking like I didn't see her a few seconds ago. You know what I'm saying? It's magic. We can do that here at Black Power Media. Khadija is one of the co-hosts of what is now called Anti-Imperialism and the Captive Maternal Agency, formerly known as Decolonizing Feminism and the Captive Maternal Agency, which comes on Mondays. And they just did a show yesterday. If you all missed it, it was an awesome show. I think it was your second show, Khadija, is that correct?
Yes, it was the second show. Hey, everyone.
Yes.
Hey, peace.
Peace.
Love the show. Powerful show you guys got going on.
Right.
Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah. So, Khadija, if you don't mind telling, I know we just cut it. We'll get into it, but we want to finish with Natasha's story. We just cut all in and just like Natasha's like, we talking about Haiti, man. What you talking about decolonize? Anyway,
decolonize Haiti.
Decolonize, yeah, it's part of it. Decolonize.
Yeah. But to your point, so we'll get to Khadija in a second on that, and you can weigh in as well. But to your point, we just talked about the Kenyan police with Haiti. Now you're talking about Belize coming in the game. A few days ago, we talked about how I think Colombia. I'm trying to think where they were sent to. Yeah, they were sent somewhere as well, and they were complaining about not getting paid.
Yeah,
the same thing that went on with the Kenyan.
Yeah,
but it was some Colombian mercenaries as well that went through the same thing. And I'm forgetting what we was talking about. What particular country it was. But it's just amazing how this thing goes.
We were talking about the Kenyans not getting that check for being in Haiti.
No. But I think it was. I'm trying to think who was I on with a few days ago.
Okay.
And we was talking about Colombia as well. I want to say, I don't know if it was Natasha and it might have been Natasha Fernando. Natasha looking like she don't know what I'm talking about. She probably smoked a spliff.
I was there. I'm like, I'm trying to remember.
Never mind. Yeah, okay. You weren't there, Kimber. Stop. But anyway, but yeah. So let's. I mean, how do you all? What's your thoughts on that, man? Like, how's this thing going, man? Like, how do you feel? You being of Haitian descent, Natasha, you seeing all these Africans being deployed to Haiti to pretty much do the bidding and being the black running dogs for the state. What's your thoughts on that? And then we'll get into Khadija. We can circle back to this, but what's your thoughts on that whole article you read?
Yeah, I think when I see it and I think about, I do think like also too that our people will, NIT will give, I do think they will give them a run for their money when it comes to, because I think one of the things too is, there's this constant ever since, you know, the revolution, there's this constant need to try and, you know, take over Haiti and make it what they want it to be, but but we always fight back. And so I think part of that, you know, like just like when we think about African people, like we will always struggle to maintain, you know, the things that we want to maintain our own sovereignty over ourselves. And, you know, so I definitely think that, but I also think that what I was saying before, it's really interesting to see the way in which other countries that are under the same economic oppression, under the same like white supremacist domination, and know what's up. Because it's like whether or not you choose to fight against it or you choose to acquiesce, you know what's up. And so, you know, the fact that you're willing to go do that, even though you already know what's up, like, you know, the same people that are telling you to go over there, you know, the quote unquote UN, that are telling you to go, you know, quote unquote UN, but we know who runs the UN, to tell you to go over there are the same ones that are destabilizing your own country. And then they're telling you you got to go over there, and so you know, and they'll give you a little something, but really they won't. But really they want you to just, like you were saying before, do their dirty work. So I think that is disheartening in a sense, because these people already know what's up. And so for you to decide that you want to go and, you know, be part of this force, and be the face of colonialism for your own people that are in the diaspora and in other parts that have went through the same similar things as you, I think that's one of the other ways that I see it too, that I feel when I hear this, is this like, so y'all are willing to go and do that?
But there may be a slight difference, you know, I'm giving benefit of the doubt, but you know, when Africans are fighting in the American imperialist army, you know, going around the world I don't think the imperialist army, the American imperialist army, would be able to do what it does, or have the power that it does have without the contribution of Africans throughout history. And that's one of the, I think, you know, Africans here in America use that as a pretext to be patriotic. Look at the wars we fought in, you know, they make that argument. But just going back to what you're saying, I guess the point I'm making is, you know, isn't that sort of the same thing? And then you have Africans who contribute or be a part of these missions, right? Of these colonial missions, or you know, open it up for the colonialists to be able to exploit these countries even further. They have different reasons for doing it, right? Too, you know, do we have to look at that as well? Because colonialism is kicking their ass where they are, and they may need a check. You see, they crying over money, Kenyans over in Haiti, like we ain't get paid, you know, and they probably over there just for a check, right? So there may be a level of being conscious of what's taking place, a level of just like wanting to survive, right? And you know, and then it's a sense of people who are just like, you have that been indoctrinated with individualism and liberalism, you know what I'm saying? And just like, so I don't know. I'm just like looking at all of those things.
Yeah, I mean, imperialism is imperialism. You know what I mean? So it's not like, you know, well, you know, this thing is bad, or is it the same? You know, whether it's Obama with AFRICOM or Michael Langley with AFRICOM, you know what I mean? You had, you know, he opened the doors. Obama opened the doors to invade, you know, to continue this world domination. So the thing is, you know, running dogs are running dogs. The problem is, it's like, whether it's an overseer on the plantation or whether it's a officer on your block, you understand what I'm saying, that's doing the bidding for the local military armored establishment. The fact is, it's the same shit, different toilet. You know what I mean? So it is betrayal, number one. And for folks to sit back and allow it to happen and not say anything, that's a criminal act as well. In fact, it's ancestral treason. We know why they trying to bum rush Haiti. You know what I'm saying? This is like they still pissed off. This is long term. One thing about Europeans and descendants of Europeans and Negroes who want to be like Europeans, they hold grudges. And they hold grudges
Beef
as
don't
long as,
die.
yeah, for generations. And it's like, you be like, damn, y'all got your ass kicked way back then and you still trying to get in. But they also know the importance and the value of that particular space. You know what I mean? So they're going to keep on trying. And they'll try anything, whether it's a man-made earthquake, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's some type of famine. And now it's like, okay, well, there's gang violence in Haiti. Come on, man. Imagine during the 80s and the 90s when like the movie Colors came out. Like most of us, when we saw Colors, we were amazed. If you lived on the East Coast, you're like, damn, they fighting over colors? You can't wear certain colors? That shit sound crazy back in the day. The whole thought of gang banging, quote unquote, sound crazy back in the day. You know what I'm saying? We had a little small, crews on the East Coast and everything, but it wasn't organized like that. So imagine them saying, okay, some troops from Kenya are going to come in to police LA, or some troops from Haiti going to come in and police New York. That would never happen. This is about domination. And to all these Negroes that are involved in it and are complicit, they should be dealt with the way the universe would deal with any type of poison, with any type of germ, and for the sake of us being on YouTube, I ain't gonna go too deep into that, but I'm just saying, like, we're clear. It's not and that's part of the reason why I brought Khadija on, like segue, is because of the fact that we have a lot of liberalism, we have class struggle, we have so many different situations going on right now in what we call our movement, our people's liberation movement. And I heard some of the things that she was talking about yesterday, so I wanted to invite her on for us all to have a convo today, just to kind of touch on some of these things, because people are forgetting certain things. You mentioned COINTELPRO, counterinsurgency. Counterinsurgency is alive and well right now. People are talking like it's it's a thing of the past and J. Edgar Hoover. This shit is more. It's far more. They're far more savvy with it right now, especially on places like YouTube. You have nothing but agent provocateurs on screen and off screen, inside of the chats, the whole nine. So I kind of wanted to have a little convo in regards to all of that. Ikemba, you going to be checking out soon, or you just I know you can't.
No,
You
I'm
come.
here.
Oh, okay. Ikemba, do you come to work late and leave early?
Nah. I'm not too far from where I need to be,
You
So
already where you need to be, brother. You on the Rise Up Morning Show on the late edition. But
that's
anyway,
what's up.
yeah, but Khadija, definitely welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show. And as the comrades mentioned, we're grateful for the new show. If you don't mind, give us a brief bio and kind of give us an idea what the show is about for folks who are just tuning in and never heard of it.
Well, my name is Khadija. I'm an organizer, tenant organizer in Brooklyn, Flatbush, Crown Heights area, and I do work with Brooklyn Eviction Defense. I was in the Communist Party USA, but I left about maybe 2 months ago now, and I wrote a letter as to why I decided to leave after like 3.5, 4 years or something. And segueing into the show, um, there's so many different violences and antagonisms, within our community that we don't deal with, that we try to like paper over, um, we use our abuse to kind of weaponize against each other. And so we wanted to kind of bring something different to the table. There was a sister, initially it was called Decolonizing Feminism. Um, Two of us on the show, I do not um, categorize myself as a feminist. I'm not a feminist. I know the other sister on the show, Marsha, is not a feminist. I know Joy has complications with the term and she's in and out, like she's not feeling it. But she just has a lot of difficulty with the term and what it's become. So we all approach it that way. And there was a sister who had a whole decolonizing platform, but now we're going to switch the title of the show to anti-imperialist feminism because we need something that speaks to the militarization of the state and the militarization of culture, of intellectual property. And this show, it really spoke to that, and we really got into the weeds of it yesterday. So yeah.
No doubt, no doubt. So, from your experience as an organizer, how long have you been organizing altogether?
I'd say about like 5, 6 years.
5, 6 years. Okay, so you fairly new on the block, but what have you learned? You know what I'm saying in that time period because you seem to have one of the things that we talk about. We say that you know in revolution, you know, 2 years, and I'm paraphrasing, 2 years in revolutionary terms is like 20 years in regular life. You know what I'm saying? Just in, you if you really get
Different.
down to these politics, huh?
Word. No, yeah, it's different. The years are much harder, much yeah, different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She felt that when you said
Right, right.
it.
Natasha too. I saw Natasha's face look like, "No, boy, let me tell you. But I mean, like, what because we talk about one of the things we talked about was class struggle, and for folks who aren't familiar, if you don't mind breaking that down. And one of the things about our platform, and I want to point this out, is that we're not here to just criticize African people. You know what I'm saying, or colonized people, because some folks, it's easy to say, look what this one's doing, look what they're not doing, so on and so forth. But I think one of the things that the four of us have on in common is being a part of organizations, but not only being part of organizations, but also being critical as to how things are ran.
Yeah.
Because some folks would like to remix the 60s, some people want to be, you know, the new Garvey and the new W.B. Du Bois and all kinds of other things. But what are for folks who are unfamiliar, define class struggle.
Well, yes, as a Marxist Leninist, through and through, Pan Africanist, I would categorize class struggle in the Leninist terms of the dictatorship of the working class, the proletariat, but bringing it into African people's context, who are the most oppressed, the most colonized, um, brute force being used against us. We have to be centered. We have to be at the fore. Racialized people have to be at the fore of the fight. So it's not just about like lumping in all of sections of the proletariat, although that we need that. We need to foreground the most oppressed. So to me, it's like the dictatorship of the proletariat, the working class, the racialized working class against the capitalist forces and the liberal bourgeois forces as well that tend to always veer towards capitalist, imperialist forces and modes of thinking.
Okay, so in plain proletariat English, for the homies that's watching on the side,
Yeah.
break it down for them now. You know what I'm saying?
So
We got
yeah,
it. Yeah.
the proletariat it just means the working class, the industrial working class is the 19th century term, really coined by Marx and Engels to describe the conditions in Germany, Prussia, with people working in the factories and things like that. Mostly men, of course, white, Eastern white, which we can talk about like Eastern versus Western European, whatever, but mostly talking about like the disenfranchised Eastern Europeans, which are like the most at that time more vilified class of people, and them hedging against and building a force to fight against the capitalist machine that was waging its way in the 19th and early 20th centuries.
No doubt. So for African people, right? Because you mentioned how you know let's look at how does class struggle work amongst African circles. So you have African organizers, you have for some reason people who are not into movement or in movement spaces, they think that everything black is for the same thing. Or they think that everybody that's for the same thing is against the same thing, or everybody against the same thing is for the same thing. How does that play out within these black circles? Because you have, as you know, we talked about education a little briefly in the meeting we had
Mm-hmm.
with the other sisters, and I wanted to, for folks who are like checking this out, because people get confused. They think that they might run into a cat that they got all the terms, they got all the paraphernalia and all that, but some of them hate black people more than white folks do. So let's talk about that. What does that look like in movement spaces?
So I've actually experienced something like this many times, and the black petty bourgeois is very interesting. And let me try to be careful
No,
with what I say.
you're on Black Power Media. I mean,
Okay, I could keep it one. I could keep it gully with you. I could keep it 100.
you got Natasha on the scene. She gully as they come.
It's just the way you have to also hedge against of these types of people because they work. I'm sorry if you hear a truck. Brooklyn, Crown Heights, a lot going on. They work to cut down what they deem as the more poor and uneducated class of black people who are not university educated, or black people who may not have read all the things or whatever the case may be. We have to kind of interrogate this also because this particular class of people, black people, as Fanon said, white skin, black math. But I also would say, like, I think Carter G. Woodson also talks about this as well um, in his book, I want to say The Miseducation of the Negro. When he talks about the Negro intellectual class or the petty bourgeois class, it's a kind of illusory ghost class. It's not, you think that, because you may have a certain degree of wealth or something, that you're somehow above these poorer class of black people. But in actuality, you're also being crushed and you're using that to crush the poor class of black people, which I, come from. I didn't finish my degree. And there are a lot of class antagonisms. You'll have people that say, I'm a Marxist Leninist, I'm this, I'm that, and they'll have all the jargon and all of the things. But energetically, there's still something wrong with you. Um, I said this on the show yesterday, you cannot really be a communist, you cannot really be a Marxist Leninist unless you do self-interrogation, unless you interrogate your class positionality. You have to understand that, yes, you maybe think that you're down with the cause and you might be trying to organize some people and hand out some food, doing food distro, but that doesn't negate the fact that your class position is working to destroy um, a poorer class of black people that you may deem not as well read or whatever. um, so that's how I would say that I'm working with it. I'm trying to call it out in the organization I'm in. And this particular class of black person is always integrationist. They always want to push this sort of assimilationist integrationist frame to you. And if you have a more revolutionary black nationalism, which is where I come from with mine, then somehow you're not refined, you don't get it. And I think a lot of people talk about this. I think I mentioned this on the show, but there's a brother, Dr. Tommy Curry. he also goes into this as well. He's a Black male studies scholar, where he says that things change in the 60s and 70s, where they kind of ushered in this kind of um, we don't want this, Black power, Black nationalist thing, because this is masculine, this is toxic masculinity, this is too Black. We want to be Black, but we don't want to be Black Black. We want to be integrationist Black and whatever. And they ushered in this kind of disciplinarity that is takes inclusiveness to replace Blackness, revolutionary Blackness. Like, as long as we're all inclusive and we're integrationist and, we're not doing Garveyism or whatever, everything is fine. So these people tend to negate the Thomas Sankaras and the Mircea Cabrals of the world. And all they want to talk about all day is, nothing, essentially. They just kind of want to usher in a framework that doesn't include revolutionary Black nationalism because they don't understand it.
All right. Okay. Um, anyone else want to any questions? Or?
Um, yeah. So it's interesting. You say that you used to be part of the Communist Party, um, and you left. So I was gonna ask if you could speak a little bit about why you left. I remember I used to be very many years ago part of the Communist Party for a little while, but eventually I left. I was like, this don't really make to me. It wasn't all adding up, and I was just like, I'm not really seeing where this is addressing, African people, and then also too like I'm not really sure that I want to live in a socialist world with y'all because I don't trust, like um what white people have done and what they continue to do. Like I don't trust living with y'all. So I don't see why I would be building a world with you in that kind of way. And all you're talking about is this, you're never talking about like, the actual issues that black people are facing. You're just talking about like class issues and all this other stuff. So what was your experience and why did you leave?
I left to because of that. I left because there's a there's a kind of, well, I mean, the whole history of the Communist Party is a whole like mess or whatever, but I kind of take the purview of Harry Haywood. That's my ideological frame that I work with, Black Bolshevik, towards a revolutionary understanding of the Negro question and things like this. And it seems like a lot of Black people in the party, they look down on revolutionary Black nationalism because they have vulgarized Lenin's understanding and Lenin's kind of thesis and Stalin's thesis about nationalism, which means that an shared territory, economic structure, shared class, and because Black people, we exist as a desperate, scattered people. Um, a lot of people in the Black people in the party would say that this, so we can't follow this. We can't have this kind of nationalism because it automatically falls into a kind of ultra nationalism, reactionary nationalism. And if you understand anything about history, this doesn't even make sense because revolutionary nationalism, going back to like 16th and 17th centuries, is always how Black people have been. This is how Nat Turner fought. This is how Democracy Vesey fought. This is how Harriet Tubman fought. This is how we stay alive: is resistance, and community and building and hedging against um, white supremacy, capitalist, white supremacy. So for me, first, ideologically, it just didn't make sense. Like, I don't think they understand Marx. I don't think they understand Lenin. So that's a whole different thing. And they kind of use it to kind of tear down like Black people who have a more um, revolutionary nationalist, Pan Africanist um, understanding. And I just felt really, for many years, I would deal with it, but I just always felt like an outsider. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing, and I felt like if you read Lenin, none of what you people are saying is adhering to Lenin. It's a kind of vulgarity of Lenin, a kind of revisionism of Lenin to fit into a kind of social democratic, we need to vote to overcome everything, ideology, which no, we don't. We need to build community structures. And for me, we need to capture the state. Now, for me, it's like the the black people in the party just made me feel like if I didn't adhere to this kind of assimilationist um, fake rainbow coalition thing, without, I'm not going to be in anybody's rainbow coalition until we address the brute force against oppressed black bodies. I can't pretend with you. I'm not doing it. And there was one particular incident that happened last year, and I wrote about it in a resignation letter, where I wanted to write a piece about um, one of the Panthers who passed away recently. The name is remissing me. I think it was Rochelle McGee, and I asked one of the more veteran members. I'm not going to say his name. If I wrote this piece. I wrote it. I submitted it. Submitted it to the People's World, which is the party's paper. Would you, what do you think? I want to, release this piece. This brother just died. He did many, many years. Um, and I was told this is not appropriate. This is this person did a lot of violence. Like I was just very, that really made me demoralized. And also another thing that made me demoralized is at the recent convention, there's a group of black people who were using like the systemic oppression that black people face in this country to as a as a cover for why voting is important. So like we have been through so much X, Y, and Z. This is why we need to vote. And I thought that was so insidious because it's just like you're using our oppression and systematic degradation to kind of lock us into the Democratic Party stronghold. And it just became like I would speak up, I would speak on these things, and I just was continuously either ignored or just flat out like, you're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about. And I put up with it for 3.5 years. And aside from just being they just really denigrated into a kind of social democratic arm. I wouldn't with Lenin interspurts of like Lenin's quotes here and there, but they don't really adhere to any sort of Leninism. They don't adhere to anything Stalin said. I was just like, I can't continue this charade. I don't know what this is. And so I could link, or maybe Kalanji, you could link the piece later for people to read, but
Cool.
that's
Yes.
a long reason as to why I left.
No doubt.
Thank you.
No doubt. Um, I want to ask too, because of course the elephant in the room for African people, most people, African people, when you talk about Lenin and you talk about Marx, um, the the obvious question is going to be, okay, well, what do these crackers mean to African people? So when what is like, how do you respond to that? Because of the fact that, of course, I see that you mentioned people like Cabral, you mentioned people like Thomas Sankara and others, so make that plain, because when you talk about Marxism, you talk about Leninism, the average African, they're not checking for it, and they get confused when you talk about communism and socialism, so on and so forth. You know, break that down, if you will, as to why an African would subscribe to Lenin or Marx or Engels.
So, Marx has a famous quote, right, where he says, labor in the white skin cannot be free until labor in the black skin is free. And this is the essence of, Marxism, Leninism. Like, Marx, I think the very last picture that he took actually was in Algeria. He, traveled there, and then a few months later he died. So he understood the African question very well. And he also wrote for a publication. It escapes me right now, in the U.S. about the African American experience and how African American people in this country were being degraded. Um, he wrote to this, and I understand that people may not know and things like this. And Walter Rodney is a great, great, great person to follow up on with this, because he has a speech that he gave, I believe it was at Queens College in 1976, where he talked about, so we have electricity, or I feel like, I want to think, yeah, he was talking about the light bulb. And he goes, are we not going to use it because a white person created it? You know what I mean? Like, are we not going to use the framework because a white person created it? Now, we have Fanon, who's a Marxist. We have CLR James, who's a Marxist. They understood this, and it's not a static framework. It's not like, okay, a white person, and he didn't create socialism. He just kind of theorized the political economy around socialism, and he was the one that was able to figure out um, exploitation and the extraction of surplus profits. This is key, because when we talk about Black bodies and the commodification of Black people, we're talking about super profits during slavery that was extracted from us and continually extracted during the wage slavery. And, this is the essence of Marxism. This speaks to our existence. This speaks to us. We have been brutally raped on so many psychic levels and so many physical levels. Our super profits that we're making, um, goes into the racist capitalist structure. So for me, the framework is a freeing framework. Now, when we talk about dialectics and we talk about dialectical and historical materialism, we're talking really about contradiction. And this is not a new frame. This dialectical materialism, we can find this in early African, Eastern, and Arabic cultures. I think the person who created, or who had some theoretical underpinning around early, like, arithmetic, he was Arabic. So these things go way back into antiquity and beyond. And so it's really a framework of contradictions and social antagonisms and rebirth and flux. But, you know Marx and Engels, and, I'm gonna say Feuerbach and Hegel and Kant, and these people, it's important to read because they build from the dialectic. And it's important to understand African spiritual system, because we talk about, you know, the yin and the yang, and, in Hinduism, they talk about Maya. It's really just about the two opposing forces coming together to birth something new. That's the essence of Marxism, and that's the essence of revolution. The dictatorship of the proletariat, the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie, two opposing forces clash, negating one, then you get the negation of the negation to create something new, which is the revolution, right? Which negated, the old class antagonism. Now, this doesn't mean that everything is going to be solved in a socialist system. It's going to be racism, it's going to be still everything. Why? Because I think people forget that we have inherited all of the ills of capital. You can't just it just doesn't go away because we're a communist now. That's why you still have so many racist communists running around. We are birthed from the kind of spoils of capital. So we're still going to have those blood stains on us until we dialectically begin to build and develop into something new when eventually we reach communism, which we've never had because it's always just been war socialism of places like Cuba and China, Vietnam, Albania, Russia, of course, um,
So
Guinea
so
Bissau,
real
trying to
so
defend it. Hmm.
so real quick, and I don't know if Isaac has a question as well. I know he returned from the jungles of North America. Real quick, I want to ask a straight up question because I think that this is when you speak of coming out the Communist Party, so on and so forth. Um, who should lead revolution in this modern context in this country, or on the planet? Because you have different people say different things. Different people have different feelings. Of course, some people just believe that anyone that considers themselves colonized, but to a great extent, that has its limitations because you can look at Africa and see a white woman born in Africa talking about she's an African. You know what I mean? So who what does that look like to you as far as revolution? Who should be, or should there be, uh, or should it be that rainbow coalition that you said you ain't getting down with?
I'm not joining the I like I said, class. So Walter Rodney said in Europe Underdeveloped Africa that the racialized component of capital came in later. These people were going out and marauding and raping and pillaging people because they wanted to bring they wanted to find slaves to build up their empire. The racialized component didn't come in until later. Walter Rodney beautifully, eloquently has his analytic around this, and I think this is something we need to understand. For me, the vanguard has to be the most oppressed. Black people, Palestinians, um, you know, Chinese people, brown people, like it has to be the most oppressed. The most oppressed has to be foregrounded, and we're the ones leading the revolution. That's why when you talk about the Communist Party USA, you're really just talking about Claudia Jones, Harry Haywood, W.E.B. Du Bois, even though he came in much later in his life. Um, you're really just talking Ben Davis and Louise Thompson Patterson. You're really just talking about the most oppressed people who really took the party to the next level. That's really what we're talking about. So for me, the vanguard, which I believe in the state capture. I don't believe in this sort of anarchistic kind of Trotskyist thing where we don't need a state. We can just play around, and if you don't have a militarized state, and then you're a bunch of collectives just doing stuff, handing out food and doing stuff, how are you going to sustain yourself without a state? I don't understand this. So for me, the
And when you say
dictatorship.
state, not to
Uh-huh.
cut you off, for clarity, when you say state, you're not talking about the state. You're talking about building a
Socialist
state,
state.
right? Okay.
Yeah, the dictatorship of the proletariat, the people's state. It has to be black and brown people, other oppressed groups leading this. It just can't be like you be five white people because you don't understand the plight. You haven't lived it. You can be um an ancillary, you can be standing alongside us, but unless you really deeply interrogate your own social position, nobody's joining your rainbow coalition and nobody's listening to you.
All right. No doubt. You're checking out the Rise Up Morning Show. This is Khadija Haynes. Khadija is co-host of Anti-Imperialist Feminism, and the Captain Maternal with Dr. Joy James and Marsha. I'm forgetting
I
Marsha's
forget.
last name.
Me
Hines
too.
Hines Myrie. Yeah, Marsha Hines Myrie. I'm good. I don't want no problems with Marsha. So
Yes.
But so Khadija joined us today, talking about class struggle, talking about really because it's so much class struggle within movement circles these days. Isaac, you had a question, or you just came back to?
Well, this was such a great conversation, and I also didn't want to be disrespectful to a sister that's a part of the BPM collective, Reloaded, as Ikemba. I mean, we're famously yesterday going over. I want to say thank you for joining the Rise Up show, and I also want to compound on what you said, because there's a lot of things that I completely agree with you on a lot. When we look at through the context of Marx, Lenin, Hegel, Engels, I could even go back as far as Voltaire, individuals like such. You have to, the viewers, most importantly, have to understand that they got that intellect from individuals that were based here in what we call America, with 3 Ks, from a person by the name of Henry H. Morgan, who was a Iroquois native. And that's how they got the intellect and understanding of exploitation, of land mass, of utilizing, quote unquote, the land for resources through what was done via industrialization. There's an individual by the name of Twin Rabbit who goes over this by the name of stolen anarchy. So he even breaks down the fact that even anarchism is a stolen intellect from indigenous understanding. And so that compounds on exactly what you were saying, is like, as much as we should, yes, look at Marx, Lenin, Hegel, Engels, and whatnot, we have individuals like Thomas Sankara, Walter Rodney. I'm glad that you brought up Harry Haywood, because a lot of people forget about Black Bolshevik. Again, like I said, Walter Rodney, Thomas Sankara, contemporary individuals. We have one on the screen right now that Dr. Joy James was that wrote a book with him. So Kalanji Changa, I'm talking about, on the screen. We have books that have been implemented, and you talked about the vanguard. The vanguard, I'm sorry, will not be white faces. It never will. We have to understand that this land was stolen, just like the land in Palestine was stolen, just like the land in Africa is being fucked with. We have to understand that. People have to be really, really conscious in understanding what liberation looks like and what post-revolution looks like. It does not look like upholding Starbucks so that some of these bourgeois, petty bourgeois assholes who sit in academia can have their fucking coffee in the morning. That's not what that looks like for indigenous people. I'm sorry, but we don't want Amazons. We don't want Starbucks. We don't want Burger Kings, McDonald's. We don't want any of these institutions, because we understand what they do to our community. We understand what they do to our bodies, most importantly. And so, again, we have to properly understand what a vanguard looks like, and we're not there yet, which is why we have individuals, like you said, you can have your collective and give food and everything. No one's knocking you. No one's saying that you can't have that. But at the end of the day, if we are not advocating for a united front, for an African united front, that not just Dhoruba bin Wahad is called for, but the likes of Marcus Garvey called for, likes of Walter, all of these Pan-Africanists called for a united front. If we are not aligned on that tip, what are we talking about? What are we doing? I don't know. And so a lot of what you said, really, I was sitting back watching, and I'm like, this is the conversation that I'm glad that Rise Up is having, because people don't really understand what a vanguard is. We have individuals that write whole ass books that are part of organizations that are attached to Goldman motherfucking Sachs, but they're writing books about social reconstruction and whatnot. So again, shots fired, if you want to call it how you see it. But again, you cannot put yourself in a position to say that you know what's best for indigenous people and you're not. You want indigenous people to sit at your table. No, I want to tear your fucking table down. Okay, I have my own table over here with all of my indigenous brethren and whatnot. We live in a system right now where people are completely flawed in misunderstanding what true even dialectics is, what true negation of negation is, the fundamentals that Engels talks about, the 3 fundamentals of dialectics. We're not there yet. So thank you, Khadija, because you sparked a conversation that I didn't know we were going to be getting into today. So,
and I want to.
Yeah, real quick though, can I say, because he's shooting shots, right? That caught me off guard. You can't go shooting shots and not tell people what's going on. Because when they come back shooting, you know what I'm saying? Like I ain't even prepared. So let the folks know you shoot shots and who you shooting at. So I mean, I wasn't prepared for that. That's all I'm saying. I ain't trying to get no strays, get caught up in the crossfire.
Oh, okay. I'm lost on that one. But all I know is we got Isaac and
Isaac, no.
we got Isaac and Khadijah on here, and shit could really go left real quick with these two cats. So when I'm one of the mildest in the room, there's a problem going on, folks. Understand that. But I'm just talking trash. But definitely shout out to who's that, Bakra, of course, Dr. Jake Carruthers. You know what I'm saying? Of course, Wade Nobles. These are folks that I had the opportunity to learn from, indeed. And these are some of the things that we will be bringing to Black Power Media as well. Indeed, our culture is absolutely at the forefront. And yes, class struggle, is hand in hand when you talk about racism, because class struggle is, in my opinion, worse than racism because of the fact that you have confused Africans running around thinking that they are something other than what they are. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, part of this situation right now, we have so many individuals who are literally playing games with our people. You know, again, you'll hear me say all the time, we don't have to be on the same page, but we damn sure, excuse me, we don't have to be on the same in the same book, but we damn sure have to be on the same page. And I think that one of the things that we're lacking as a quote unquote movement is a lack of clarity. And I think that, you know, as the group Dead Prez said in one of their songs, everybody want to be somebody better than everybody. The reality is, whether you have a PhD or MBA or whatever the hell you got, you're in the same damn toilet bowl as the rest of us. Now you can try to get to another alkaline lace toilet if you want to and swim in that shit, but the reality is, at the end of the day, we all going to hell in the same handbasket. You know what I mean? We get caught up. We have so many folks on YouTube that do more YouTube work than they do actual work. You know, we're in a strange time when folks confuse individuals who sit in front of a camera with the actual workers. Now, don't get it twisted. We utilize YouTube as a tool because a wise man utilizes all tools. So it's not the end all means. We're not thinking that because you're on the screen that means that you have all the answers. Yo, in the more the words of y'all man Kanye, you don't have all the answers, Sway. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, it's with all of us. None of us have all the answers. None of our elders have all the answers. None of our ancestors have all the answers, because if they did, we'd have been moving a little bit forward. You know what I'm saying? And some of the analysis are a little clearer than others, but at the same time, we recognize that it's going to take a group effort. We recognize that because some folks will say something like, well, you against the academics. No, I'm not against that. I'm against bullshitters. I'm against some of these 2% black Negroes with their degrees and shit that think they know everything. That's what I'm against. I'm against some of these cats who never go to the community, who never seen the hood, but can tell you all about the hood. I'm against some of these folks that have town hall meetings and everybody is there, all the celebrities are there, but nobody from the town is there. You understand what I'm saying? So these are the folks, these are the contradictions that I have issues with.
Can I just say also, and thank you for having me on again. I have to leave at 12. You guys,
that's all good. We all leaving up here at 12.
Okay, I just wanted to add also that I think people haven't really reconciled their class background, class position with their politics and their ethics and their morality, because Lenin does talk about communist morality. Lenin's wife, Krupskaya, wrote essay, it's escaping me now. I think it's on communist ethics and morality. And I think that when you come into this and you say you want to organize, even people need to figure out what they mean by that also. But you have to be rooted in something. And it can't, and there's a role for intellectuals, right? Because intellectuals, they have the time to write the theory because the rest of us are working sometimes and we don't always have the time. They have the time to write the theory, but their theory must be informed by the organizers. If your theory is just in a bubble, like a lot of these postmodernists and things like this, you're not going to have a real connection to the people. And this is why people are so easily co-opted, because you have no connection. You have no conduit to class struggle on the ground. You're just theorizing and pontificating about it. And I think that people sometimes get with the accolades and the conferences and the la la la, it's easy to be led astray. But you have to really be invested in your people in a real way. And you have to revolution is self-inquiry. Revolution is self-criticism. It is self-interrogation. And unless you're doing that, I think you're failing not only yourself, but you're failing the people you say that you're fighting for.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
Tasha.
Yeah, no, I would just add that I do think that especially, thinking about your own experience, having been in the party, and also with Marxism and Leninism, and talking about how people can be misinformed or led astray. I do, I do view kind of like there's a lot of things put in place, whether it's like organizations or theories, um, or organizational theories, all of these different things that are set up for our people to not get to the place where they need to be in terms of thinking about revolutionary ways of addressing our issues, not just thinking about reformist ways or integrationist ways, but they can get captured within certain organizations, especially like, and that's one of the things that I was thinking when I left the Communist Party. I'm like, this is people joining this party in that sense is another way to capture Black people from becoming real revolutionary thinkers, like real nationalists, real Pan-Africanists in a sense, in terms of thinking about the ways through. And I think also too, there's a certain degree of understanding that is not given to people throughout their educational career when it comes to like things like communism or socialism or Leninism and Marxism, because I think us as African people, I agree with like John Henry Clark that like we already we have our thoughts and our theories. Socialism is not something that Europeans have to bring to us. Like we don't need to follow their line of thought, so you can be able to understand those things, but also at the same time say like, okay, and I see this in what this is saying. This is basically, Marxist is saying basically this, and he's having a critique of his, positioning of his, his context, and that informs, because we are in a European world, like we are living within the world that they've created for them based on their own, um, you know, uh, sense of being and seeing things, and so so being able to kind of like have that knowledge base to be able to say, okay, I can analyze the situation that we're in when it comes to what Europeans are doing and have been doing. And in that context, I could see that. But then also I know that I'm not going to build my world off of you know, a Marxist Leninist thing, because theories and language carry thoughts, they carry culture within them. And so but once you have that understanding, you're able to parse things out and be able to say, okay, I can see where this could apply here. And I know that this thing, like Isaac was saying, and like you were saying, like, okay, these ideas already existed out of this, but I could see this part where like I can be able to analyze this particular situation or this thing in that way by using it. But I think a lot of people don't have that because we're not given those things. We're not given the educational foundation that we need to be able to understand the dynamics of all of these different types of theories that exist out there and what it all means, and where they're useful, where they're not useful, and things like that. So
No doubt. No doubt. No, and I appreciate both of you, what it is you're saying. We're gonna have to wrap up. We got things to do. Khadija, we appreciate you coming on and joining us short notice. Check out her show that she has with Dr. Joy James and our sister Marsha Hines Mary. It comes on Mondays. I believe it's every other Monday right here on Black Power Media Reloaded. Yes, bi-weekly. The latest show was yesterday. Step into it. Check it out. I highly suggested. The name of it is, Khadija?
Anti-imperialism, anti-imperialist feminism, and the captive maternal.
No doubt. We appreciate you coming on, joining us today. Have a powerful day.
Yes. Folks, thank you so much.
No doubt. For folks who are checking us out, yes, this is the Rise Up Morning Show, International Morning Show. That was our sister Khadija Haynes. We've had Ikemba and Isaac on today. It's been a long day, even though we started late. Natasha's in the building. I'm Kalanji, of course. I want to point out something while we're here before I get off, because I almost forgot. The ticker at the bottom, we got a call from one of our movement veterans, the family of one of our movement veterans, who was hospitalized for the last 3 weeks, I believe. And we understand that while he was hospitalized, he was evicted. So he's scheduled to be released tomorrow. So we got to raise some resources to make sure that this OG is not homeless after coming from the hospital. So we have some work to do. Now, we can't put it all on any one individual. We can't put it on the family who is not in the United States. But we're asking for folks who can, and you have it inside of your heart, your mind, and your spirit to make a donation. At the bottom, scrolling across the piece, emergency housing for movement veteran on the verge of eviction. It's not on the verge, he's already evicted, but like I said, he's be leaving the hospital tomorrow. So if you are able to make a donation, make that donation of any amount, you can Cash App $BPM Reloaded, or go to PayPal. Our PayPal, I don't know what it is, but you can go to blackpowermedia.org/donate. Again, the Cash App is $BPM Reloaded. Let me make sure I got that right, because I'm bad with all these Cash Apps and all that stuff. That's why they don't let me handle the money. $BPM Reloaded. Yes, if you can Cash App for that. I was asked not to say the individual's name. I'm sorry, but for folks who want to, on the side, if I know you, I can tell you. But definitely, if you have it in your pockets or whatever, trying to raise at least enough resources to get at least get them an Airbnb or hotel for the week until we can find out something else or whatever. So again, if you have it in your heart and in your pocket, put your money where your mouth is. We're gonna put our coins together, and hopefully you will too. And again, we appreciate you for coming on to
and Black no amount is too little.
Yes, thank you, Natasha. See, that's what we need. They listen to you, Natasha, and they be like, I'll fool you. And then they'd be like, yeah, then they'd be like, why you didn't tell me it was such and such? It doesn't matter who it was. We're telling you that it's such and such. But anyway, stay on the right side of the barricades. Natasha, we appreciate you. We will see you tomorrow on tomorrow's episode of Rise Up Morning Show. My name is Kalanji Changa alongside Natasha. You know what I mean? Stay on the right side of the barricades. Till next time.
Rise up.
Rise up, indeed. And let me see if I still know how to work the buttons here.
Sometimes the riot is a quiet one. Well, the battle is to love yourself and function in society where voices of reason are muted by anxiety, like gaining notoriety is selling your soul. So we tend to go no deeper than the shallow water level, trying to keep us overhead in the face of all the slurs and the stares until they frozen, paralyzed by fear of failure and success. So we lock, stock, barrel, running while it's crumbling. All these towers and they're babbling, but the baby's in the bath and the stash under the bed on my head, spinning from the circles and the puppets and the strings that they pull. Then we move. Reactionary warfare never produces when it's on the field. Feeble and foolish. What tools and what weapons are we using? We need some new ones. Real revolution. It's real solutions. Well, we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Where my inner me, really a mirror for the galaxy. New time, brand new paradigms, new contracts to sign. They thought that this would all be televised, though it's happening right before our very eyes. It's on the inside, with their guns cocked. When that rock drops, standing on the rooftop, praying that the mountaintop can live inside the valley. People tell me the reward is somewhere off in heaven, like heaven's only in the sky, like chariots are swinging, like God is something separate from yourself, from your wealth, from your lover, from your neighbor. Oh, your savior is coming in your own name, coming with the face the same. Real revolution, it's real solutions, where we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution, where my enemy is really a mirror for the galaxy.